I would want to use a very light portamento. And Mozart writes in his letters about portamento and also rubato. And some of these pianists did not want to know about what he wrote about. They only wanted to know what they thought Holy Mozart should, how it should be sung. And there should be actually, I think, two types of portamento, and there's the one that one would use in Mozart, and there's the one that one would use in Italian singing, which would have a little more vibrato in it, and which adds excitement. And I mean, if anybody listens to Corelli, who I love, he just portamentos all over the place, and I think it's great. I thought it was wonderful. I don't care what some critics say. No, he portamentos all over the place, and it sounds like a pizza pie. I didn't care. It sounded wonderful to me.
Yes, Miss Dunn. Right.
Well, with Wagner, most of the time you don't at all. But when he wants one, and he writes them all in. So it's much more simple.
Could
with
you give
Wagner,
us an example?
I think then it no.
I get A for effort. All right, let's go to the second term then. Miss Horn would like to know, what does it mean by coloring the voice? Miss Dunn?
There's a wonderful line and a very difficult one in Elektra from Clytemnestra. And she says, Ich habe keine gute Nächte. But if you sing it really doesn't have that much of a dramatic impact. And I sort of futzed around with it, and I didn't know what to do, and I thought here and there, and I finally came up with, I held my breath for about 3 measures, so that, because all of these clunk, 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 it's very suspenseful. So then all of a sudden it's like you hold your breath, and I'll try it, and it goes, Ich habe keine gute Nächte, and it has more of a feeling of she just can't hold it in anymore. So mezzo-sopranos have so many things that we do have to color our voices, and we have to use more dramatic things than I think you girls.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I think we sopranos have so much coloring to do, because most of the time, especially in certain operas, we have so many repetitions, the same phrase. And I will keep with the Bohème, I hope, anyway. But I mean, whenever you have the same phrase 2, 3, 5 times, and you have to, the only way to make it important and interesting and not monotonous is coloring. Like, again, with the same phrase, Savoy, 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 Sarabana. It's the same in poem, and that is, if you say the same Savoy again,
There's got to be some contrast. Miss Dunn.
It's also like in Cavalleria with Debo parlarti. You have to change those things, because if not, it just doesn't mean anything.
Santuzza doesn't become the power that she is if she doesn't change it. Right?
No.
You have anything to add to that, Miss Migenes?
I just wanted to translate what Ich habe keine gute Nächte. It means I don't have any good nights.
Good for you. And with good reason, she does. All right, here's our last and third term in this question. Do you, ladies, think, is there a difference among the terms falsetto, mezzo di voce, and pianissimo? And if there is a difference, can you explain or even demonstrate it to us? Miss Cruz-Romo.
Okay, it's very difficult. It will take more than 20 minutes. But
Oh,
anyway,
we don't have that much
I'll try
time.
to make it very short.
Right.
Okay, a mezzo voce is whenever we mark in a way. Sometimes when you're rehearsing, and they're long rehearsals, you try to not to sing as loud, or to sing, that's what we call a mezzo di voce. Now, the falsetto, because of the tessitura of the women, we don't have the term falsetto, because that will become our head sound. But in the tenors, or even the baritone or basses, when they go up, and it's a sound that doesn't have this sustained column of air. And I don't know if it's clear. Is it clear?
It's clear, but
Yeah.
there's something that fascinates me. In my mind, falsetto is always a bad term. that everybody says, you should be singing piano or pianissimo, and that sometimes singers can cheat by making it falsetto.
Well,
now,
yes.
Is that right or wrong?
That's, I guess in a way it's right, and can be very, very wrong too. But I think that the big difference is if the falsetto has some kind of meat to it, substance to it, I think it can pass for a full sound, piano sound. I guess it has to be a lot in the technique that the person develops, that he can ensure that the high note won't break. Because in falsetto it's very easy for them. I cannot demonstrate because it's
I thought,
hard.
excuse me, this is
Ms.
Julia.
Migenes,
I thought that falsetto was really for a male voice, and in that he only uses what we would use as a head voice, whereas a pianissimo has the full bottom to it also. But you can know that it's like for a woman, her chest voice and the head, and a soprano voice is almost a similarity I think to what a man uses when he says, okay, I'm going to sing this in falsetto, which is a very rare occasion and I think only used for an effect, and not like a pianissimo, which would be with a full supported voice, fully supported, but like Felsenstein is a very, very famous German man in Berlin. He would say a pianissimo is a very quiet scream. You don't sing softly. You use the same intensity as you were going to sing loud, but you make it as soft as you can, which makes it, of course, so much more intense than just singing softly.
That's interesting. And also it answers the question, and it leads into the next one, because you said it's a very quiet scream. And now we have this question from Mrs. Carol Saffel of Richland Center, Wisconsin. And she writes that in opera there's the entire gamut of human emotions, and sometimes one of you is called upon to scream. And she's afraid that could be injurious to your voice. And she asks, how do you do it without harming your ability to sing the rest of the performance?
Very carefully.
You watch it.
But is it a special technique?
Well,
It's done.
I'll go back to Electra again, because Maestro Leinstorff, the last time I did it here, absolutely refused to let me scream. Because he said, if you do it, then who is going to do my second performance?
Yes, because Clytemnestra's screams are off stage anyhow
Yes, she
when
does.
she's being
Yes.
murdered.
But I think we have a lot of really blood-curdling things. I think what you do is that you'd sort of place the scream the way you would place your voice as high as you can.
Yeah.
And then maybe bring it down, and I always sort of bring it down and then sing sort of a little chest down at the bottom so it gets to be a
Wonderful.
more. But what it really is a sort of a messed up scale.
Well, we are very lucky because we sopranos usually have to scream in the stage. There's no way that anybody can do it for us.
No, because, Santuzza in Cavalleria has to give a
You better
huge shriek on that
scream.
last chord.
Yes,
Yes.
but that's, you just sort of aim for the highest note that you can possibly make, and it doesn't have to be just, again, you place it as you would place a very,
Yeah.
very high note.
I think the thing that one has to watch out for is you don't rub your vocal cords, which
Yeah.
means that, if you rub on your vocal cords, then you're doing something bad. But if you can get around screaming, I know Teresa Stratas really has screamed on the stage in Lulu, and I thought that's fantastic, and she
Fantastic what she
continues
does.
to sing. So she must have it all down pat how she does that, and I think it's quite
Well,
amazing.
you have to have a few days in between.
Well, that brings up another interesting question. You girls are just, going from one to another. Because now, I have got to find this question here, and it comes from Varda Adler of Brooklyn, New York. And she loves equally opera and musical comedy. But she asks, why does an opera singer need several days off between performances, or sometimes more, and a Broadway musical comedy singer does 6 or 7 performances a week?
Oh.
Miss Cruz-Romo.
I just talk for me. I am one of those birds that needs a lot of rest. I think that the big difference is that they are singing to houses that are very small, and 90% of the time they are mic'd. Anyway, if they don't give a beautiful sound or something, which many of them do have, it's not so criticized.
Well, also the demands are different, aren't they? Because
Absolutely.
opera is, whether you want to call it bel canto
Bel
or
canto,
Wagnerian or
yes.
Straussian, it has a longer sustained line. In a Broadway musical comedy, you're on stage, you're off stage, you sing a song, and then you disappear maybe for 20
yes.
minutes.
Now,
Not really.
No?
No, Evita, she's singing all.
No?
No, Evita, she's singing all the time.
Uh-huh.
well, there are some exceptions
Yeah.
too, but it's like in the opera too. I feel that, for example, I love to sing certain operas that I, very short in a way,
Yeah.
and still I do have to go and sing a butterfly dance all the time in the stage.
Yeah.
So I think in a way it balances up to a point, but what I was thinking is that the beauty of the sound is not as important in
Right.
the musical comedy as it is in our field. I'm not trying to diminish the responsibility. It's enormous and it's wonderful, and anybody that stands in the stage, deserves a lot of respect. But I think